Hello, everyone. Time for another interview. My guest today is a registered clinical counselor. She is a registered psychiatric nurse, and she's a comedian. Time to meet Paige Mathison. Welcome to the show, Paige.
Hello, everyone.
So I'm curious to know which came first, the counseling or the comedy.
Actually, it was funny. What came first was the psych nursing, and then I became a comedian when I moved to Kelowna, BC, and then I only actually became a counselor in March of this year, 20.
Oh, okay. So let's start with the psychiatric nurse first. Then, what made you decide to do that career? Because it's not an easy
So
one.
it's definitely not an easy one, and definitely has changed a lot over the past few years. But I had always been a child who was just really interested in trying to help people and try and get to know people. I was always such a curious kid about the human, like just humans. And I was in middle school, I hung out with a lot of kids who were struggling with their mental health, and they were going in and out of hospital, and they always complained about their psych nurses. And I was like, there's nurses who do this stuff. I'll be a cool psych nurse. And then that's the path I started on when I hit grade, started focusing on what I needed to do to get into nursing school, and went straight into it when I was 18.
Oh my goodness! Well, that is pretty young.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. No, I know that because I have a friend who did that type of work, and I know that it takes a certain kind of personality because it's not easy to not let those things get to you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it can be such a beautiful career
Mhm.
depending on what type of work that you're or type of area you're working in. Because if we're in a hospital setting, there's always limitations. If we're in community settings, there's also a lot of limitations. So that is something that a lot of nurses, even in the medical field, also have frustrations with. So that's why I've now transitioned to counseling, where I can still assist people, but it's completely voluntary. We're able to like really personalize whatever care they need, and there's no limitations in how long they can see me, unless of course there's financial constraints or if their insurance only covers so much. But we try and work the best we can within their budget.
Right. Yeah, I was going to ask that though, like with the cutbacks, we keep hearing about cutbacks all the time, in the medical field, especially, and where we can't afford to have the cutbacks, right? So I was wondering, as a psychiatric nurse, how did that affect you and where you work?
I haven't been able to see whatever the budgets are on a lot of things, so I can't really speak too much to that. But what I can speak toward is, because we are trying to meet so many needs of so many people, we as professionals are getting more and more responsibilities put on top of us, with increase in pay increments that are so helpful in just kind of conceptualizing that amount of change.
Uh-huh.
So we're feeling like we're at our burnout point because we're trying our absolute best to do quality care. But when we have so many patients and we have so many people who have like more complex needs, and we're not able to keep up wise with all of the stuff that is required to be able to be really helpful and beneficial for the people in our communities.
Yeah, for sure. I know that during COVID, like when the worst of it is, a lot of people were praising the healthcare, the first liners, that were there to do whatever they needed to do, despite that the possibility of becoming infected themselves. So it was nice to see people appreciate what you do, whether
Yeah.
you were directly involved with somebody who was COVID or not. You still were there, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And that love and support was so, so helpful.
Yeah. Um, you just froze there. I have to wait for you just froze. I don't know what happened here. So while I'm waiting for your camera to come back on, well, not your camera, but your whatever it is that froze. I don't know how to explain that. We might have to shut down and start over. I don't know if you can hear me or not. Oh, you're coming back in. Hold on. Okay. Now what do we have? Sorry about that, everybody, but sometimes we have problems with thing's just freezing, and you're kind of sideways at the bottom there.
Oh, sorry.
There we go, because everything just froze for you for a minute, but that's okay.
My computer completely shut down. So we're on my cell phone now.
Listen, if you're okay with it, we're just going to leave it in the interview.
Yep.
Because all kinds of weird stuff happens on my end too, so we're not gonna worry about it.
Totally fine. Yeah.
Now let's jump into your comedy career.
Yeah.
Okay, so how did it start?
Hilariously enough, it was completely random. I've always been on stages since I was really little, between like competitive poetry, music, and then I was a wedding singer for quite a few years.
Oh.
And then when I was living in a small community called Dauphin, Manitoba, and I kept writing music at that time. And then when I moved to Kelowna, the only person I knew, her boyfriend at the time, was actually running the comedy club in Kelowna. And I went to a few shows. I went to an open mic, and I was like, I think I could be funny. And so I got up on stage and improv'd about Pokemon Go. And I loved it. And I wasn't very good at the start. I will admit that my comedy was garbage. But now it's improved substantially. And it's a really, really great way for me to process the stressors of the world.
I would think so. And laughter is like one of the perfect medicines, right?
Absolutely. And I've done actually a lot of studying in laughter, because I actually did a diploma in laughter therapy on top of my master's.
Mm-hmm.
And the only possible negative side effect of laughter is abdominal pain. So I was like, that's not too bad.
Yeah. Or jaw pains too.
Or jaw pain. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. They just said, if you have recently had a surgery or had a cesarean, like a C-section, then don't laugh.
Well, I understand, because I've done stage work myself in comedy, and one of the greatest feelings is when you connect with an audience, right?
Totally. Yeah. I've done a lot of different things in my life. And I mean, counseling is something that I also absolutely adore, because it's that beautiful connection. But there is something really cool about having an entire room, or at least the sense of the entire room, engaged and excited, and just sitting in the energy of laughter. Because even if one other person either didn't get my joke, or it just didn't resonate with their sense of humor, they still get to feel the energy of the other people laughing. And that's really, really cool to me.
Isn't it like almost like an addiction? Like once you get that, the first time that you have that wonderful connection with the audience, you just want more of it all the time.
Yes. One of my girlfriends actually had explained it to me. She said, it feels like a compulsion. Like I can't help but continue to return and try and write new material. And that's also really one of my favorite moments, is if I write something new and I get on stage and it lands the first time. Oh, that is it for me. I'm so excited when those moments happen.
So what areas do you I don't mean just in that way, but is it only in Kelowna that you do your stand-up routine?
For the most part, yeah. I have done in Kamloops, and I've done in Winnipeg at a couple open mics, and I tried to do, or I did some in Edmonton, but it was for like a competition, and a little bit in Vancouver. So I've putzed around a little bit, but most of my paid shows have been in the Okanagan.
Okay, right. Would you consider going into improv? Because that's what I did. I switched from stand-up to improv.
Oh, nice. Yeah. One of my girlfriends does improv, and she absolutely loves that too. That's what's so beautiful. She's got the combination of both improv and comedy. Mm-hmm. And I find that helps her comedy a ton. So right. Being able to do improv would I think equip me to actually do better at comedy.
Well, the reason why I like doing the improv is I didn't have to worry about remembering my lines,
Fair.
So it's so fair. A whole other freedom.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I never even considered that.
Anyway, it depends, and it also depends on the team you're working with. So if you have a good connection, or if you're solo, some people are better as solo performers. That's just the way it is, period. And others are better with team,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, it must have been hard for you during COVID, because you had to shut that down, at least the live performances.
Yeah, for quite some time. I was doing a lot of Zoom comedy in the beginning phases, kind of when we were still in that golden glow of like, oh yay, I get to spend time at home and not work. And then once the reality set in for people that, oh my gosh, like this is not going to just be 2 weeks, this is not just going to be a month, like this is going longer, that really did hit a lot of artists in general, musicians, comedians, just like anybody who ever wants to share their art.
Yeah.
And so I was able to do a few Zoom shows, but of course it was not anywhere close to the same type of thing because we don't have that communal energy. And I missed my friends because with the comedy group, we all like banter and joke and like visit with each other between sets and like when we're waiting for the show to start. So it was tough. And then when we did reopen, we can only have half of the amount of the audience. And most people didn't even think we were open. So even though we were advertising, no one was coming because they just didn't think we were even a thing.
Yeah. No, taking that same thing about COVID and back to your, to the being a counselor, that must have affected a lot of the patients that you would see, right? Because they were not able to live the life that you would normally live.
Yeah, and so while COVID was had a lot of the restrictions, I was still doing my master's in that.
Oh, okay.
But and then when I did my internship, the first half of my internship was strictly online, and then I was able to do some in-person stuff. And I know a lot of counselors who still have not gone back in person and just do only online. And so I'm a little unique because I do have an office space that people can come to. I have a beautiful office at the Landmark buildings in Kelowna, and I absolutely love it here. And so do my clients. It's just that opportunity to connect in person and also just get out of your home, do something different, kind of make like a day of it, or make it like, because there's lots of coffee shops and everything around here too. But yeah, people are really struggling to get back into the swing of things, though. They really are. We went from this very fear-based society where we needed to be careful and cautious, and like if you go out in public you might kill someone or someone might kill you. Like when we put it that bluntly, that just shows like the messages we were receiving for so long. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, go back to normal now, like just go out into the world. It's like, what do you mean? We haven't even processed all of the crap that we've just dealt with.
There is no any more normal that we once knew. This is a new normal, right?
It's a new normal. And it's a weird normal because everyone's still at different phases of getting back out into the world and different phases of like acceptance of our new norm, or like still stuck in, I have to stay at home, I can't go out anywhere. And this huge social anxiety that a lot of people actually hadn't experienced previous to COVID.
Right. I'm one of the fortunate ones because this worked for me. COVID worked for me. I have social anxiety, so staying home was wonderful. And Zoom became my new world, you know?
Totally. And I still have virtual sessions available for people, specifically for those who have social anxiety or just it's just hard for them to get to me.
Yeah. Well, I think, people suggest, oh, just do this. Listen, I'm 74 years old. The odds are me becoming suddenly okay with being social is not going to happen. And I decided I'm okay the way I am.
That is such a beautiful outlook. I love that. That is awesome.
I can now laugh about it. I no longer lie and make excuses for not showing up somewhere, because I did that for many years. Because you feel embarrassed.
Yeah. Well, and then if you go, or even if we have to like make up an excuse versus just express that we're struggling, then we're not living very authentically either. And that within itself is hard on our system.
Absolutely. I would come home, like I would sit there and I know I could pull my body tight.
Yes.
And then I'd get home and I'm so sore everywhere because I was just trying to, I don't know, become invisible. I don't know what the word is.
You feel it. It is all through our body. Like people really underestimate anxiety and just how horrific that feeling truly is, because it is a full body experience.
And I think for you as a counselor, you would recognize the fact that like someone says to me, well, just do this or just do that, which worked for them. But as a counselor, that that's what works for one person obviously doesn't work for another, right?
Absolutely. I'm very much so a type of counselor who's very person-centered. So I really try to personalize the care for whatever people bring forward.
Yeah.
I've been in the nursing, like I started psych nursing in 2009. So I've been in the field for quite some time. And I find that there's like a one size fits all type of mentality when we do a lot of mental health care.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that didn't align with my beliefs at all, because I'm like, we're all human beings. We're all so different.
Yeah.
And so that's why I love to pull from multiple different areas, especially strength-based, like solution focused or positive psychology, just very much empowering the person and adding more good elements into their world,
Right.
so that they start to just feel an overall sense of better well-being.
Very good. Yeah. Now we're switching back to comedy again. Sorry, I like to switch.
Oh, for sure. No, all good.
Do you have some shows coming up?
I only have one show coming up September 17th in Penticton.
Okay.
But otherwise, I've had to put it a little bit to the side, just specifically because I've been working as a nurse and a counselor right now while my practice is building.
Mhm.
But I do so look forward to when it grows again and I can do way more comedy and have weekends off, so I can just go to other cities and stuff and perform more.
Sure. So where are you going to be in Penticton?
The Dream Cafe, I do believe is what it's called.
Okay. So that's September 17th. I'll make sure, like I want people to see that. So if they're, you know, my bonus daughter happens to live in Penticton. So
Oh, that's great.
yeah. So if we can get some people go out to see your show, that would be great, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a fun time. I haven't performed at that location yet, but I've heard it's great. And so the guy who's organizing it is hoping he doesn't have to postpone it, because he was trying to get another show in Kelowna as well going. But as far as I know, it's still happening. So
Very good. Well, we're going to end it there. So just
Okay.
stay on camera. Just want to say goodbye to everybody. So if you live in Penticton and you're looking for a fun night on September 17th, I believe it is, right? Paige is going to be performing that night, as long as it's still going ahead. And so check it out. I'm sure there'll be some advertising somewhere. All right. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And remember to like, save, and subscribe. And be nice, and peace out, everyone.
A sense of community, Chilliwack's a place to be. A sense of community where you're free. Rolling through the mountains, rolling through the valley, rolling through paradise with me. It's multicultural, you're sure to see it all. Chilliwack's the place to be, you'll see. Come party in the park, go dancing after dark. Chilliwack's the place to be, you'll see.